Cynthia, a lot of mock drafts have the Jets picking between cornerback, pass rusher, and wide receiver. But do the analytics favor one position or a specific player?
Well, when I did my mock draft, and I just came out with my mock draft 2.0, literally like today as we are sitting here, and I went with corner as the first pick. Why? Because when you look at this division and you look at this conference, stopping the pass is absolutely like the most important thing. So the best way to do that, especially given the fact that we've seen Coach Saleh be able to create really masterful defensive fronts, is to back it up with a lot of help on the back end. Now, I understand there was some addressing of this in terms of adding defensive backs in free agency, but I put Sauce Gardner, Ahmad Gardner out of Cincinnati, paired him with the Jets, and that created the most win shares for 2020.
So let's have you put on the GM hat for a moment. And who would you pick at 10 for the Jets?
I went with a wide receiver, and I went with my top rated wide receiver in the entire draft, which it's very unlikely that a receiver will take this long to get taken off the board, but Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State. He's the most polished route runner. He has really exceptional pad speed, right? Like, so we see these straight line speed at the combine. You see all these guys that run really blazing fast 40s, and that's really great. And of course, speed is important, but sometimes there's diminishing returns. So when I look to see what Garrett Wilson did when he was actually, these are my routes, I use my hands, whatever. When he was actually on the field, he's a very precise, crisp route runner. He has diversity in terms of scheme. He lined up in the slot and he lined up outside. So the entire route tree is available to him, and he's very consistently quick at each point on those routes. And he creates a lot of separation, which are some really high indicators for success, touchdowns, first downs, all the things that you need a wide receiver to do.
Now, you said this earlier, the wide receivers are probably going to go off the board a little bit quickly there. Do you see a chance where they end up going Wilson at 4 instead?
This draft has the wide receivers are different flavors. There's a lot of really great wide receivers. There's really different types of characteristics, different types of bodies, different types of experience levels, different types of opportunities to use however the vision that they create for the wide receiver. If they like Drake London, for example, some people have him at the top of the list, a wide receiver out of USC. He's an interesting one. He's very, very strong at contested catches, so he can come down with the ball in traffic. If that's what they're looking for to complement the speed that's already on the field, then potentially the smart people in the front office, and this front office has done a great job of drafting in the past, so I will extend that to this year too, right? You have to expend, the history will repeat itself here. They'll be able to figure out kind of where they can get him, and they can move around the chessboard, because with all that equity in the top 10, the Jets can pick wherever they want.
Yeah, there is a lot of equity there. Now, is there a player, analytically speaking, that maybe deserves more credit than he's getting at this point?
So overall, in this entire draft, the one that really jumps off the paper to me is a safety, which is really strange because typically most people, team builders will say, quarterback's obviously your most important position. And then they'll say like pass rusher, left tackle, and then wide receiver and corner. Those two are kind of tied for 4th, right? So safety is not in that top 5 list. However, I would argue that safety is becoming an increasingly more important part of this game. And if you look at Kyle Hamilton, who's a safety out of Notre Dame, and you look at how diverse he is in terms of he can stop tight ends, he's really good at blitzing, sideline to sideline, he gets there quickly in pads. People will say he ran at the combine, he ran a 4.59 40, and people are like, whoa, that's so slow. He's fine. In pads, I can measure with computer vision. He is very quick on the field. So if you look to see, he's hauled in interceptions. He's done kind of everything that's asked for. So this multi-purpose safety tool, that is something that is increasingly more important as we're seeing more college-style quarterbacks enter the league, as tight end has become an increasingly valuable position, and as we're seeing slot receivers become used more and more and more. And remember, like 10 years ago, if you were saying, he's a slot receiver, he's a slot corner, it was kind of used in the pejorative. It wasn't used as like this guy's going to be a world beater.
Well, we're going to keep our eyes on those guys as we approach the draft. But thank you for all of your insight, Cynthia.